Good day, everyone. This is Teacher Casey. Do you want to learn how to create this kind of video for your students? In this video, I am going to share to you on how to produce or to create a lesson video for your students using Camtasia. So without further ado, let's get started. The editing software that you will learn today comes up with different features, like zoom in and out of your screen. You can edit your recorded video even after recording, and you can also add text, graphics, and more. For those who are not familiar with Camtasia, Camtasia is one of the best all-in-one screen recorder and video editors. Here, you can record your videos, add video effects, features, and more. And this is under and created by the TechSmith Corporation. Though it is not free, you can download the free trial for this so that you can improve your video lectures. Once you explore its features, nothing will stop you anymore from improving your video lessons. So if you are interested to download this software, you can find the link in the description. Note that this software is not free, but still you can still download its free trial. Just follow the instruction in the link. Suppose you want to experience and explore this software, it's okay to download its free trial. For us teachers who wants to improve our video lessons for our students, you can use its free trial. Then you can use the free trial to create as many videos as you like. And then you can later on decide if you want to download or purchase the software. But for me, it's worth it.
To begin with, let's start first with the recording part. So let's assume that you already have your Camtasia in your computer or in your laptops. So let's start by opening our PowerPoint presentation or slides that we want to record, and in this case this is what I want to record. So the next step is to open your Camtasia. So you can go to your Windows or you can go to your search box to search for your Camtasia software. So wherever you saved your file. Okay, so let's open our Camtasia. You can also create a shortcut icon for this in your desktop so that it would not be difficult for you to locate the Camtasia software. So now we will see here our Camtasia software, and once we open it, it will give us an option on what to do. So we have here the new project, the new from template, new recording, and then open project. So what we will do is to record our video lessons in two ways. So the first one is to record it directly, while we were giving our lecture or while we were giving our discussions, and later, or we will also record our lesson using a separate audio and screen recording. Okay, so now let's start by clicking the recording or the new recording tab. And once we open our recording tab, we will see this part, or we will see this one. Okay, so here, as you can see, we have here the select area tab. And then once we click the select area tab, you will see here the full screen, the custom region, the widescreen, and the social media screen. So it's up to you on what kind or what type of video that you are making in your Camtasia. If you want to view the entire desktop or if you want to record the whole screen, then you can use the full screen view. Or you can also choose the custom region if you're going to select the custom size. But since we are recording our PowerPoint slide, so we will choose this one, the full screen. Okay, so full screen. The next is the recorded input. So for the recorded input, you will see there that we have here. Now, if you want to record your video with your face in it while giving your lecture, so you may turn on your camera. Okay, let's assume na lang na we turn it on and then you will see your face there in the camera tool. However, my God, I am using a PC right now. In my PC, I do not have my webcam with me. So that's why, probably that's the reason why I cannot use the camera. Though, I already installed the Droid Cam, which is, you're using your phone as a camera, an alternative camera, instead of using a webcam. Okay, so let's proceed here with the microphone. So, now after setting up your camera, next to set, of course, is your audio. Now, so you can either use your default microphone, or if you have a headset, then you may set your headset as your audio mode. So it would depend on your microphone that you are using in your computers or in your laptops. So you can also check if your audio is on by looking at this audio bar. As you can see here in the audio bar, now, if it is moving, then of course the microphone is functioning. And also this one is the volume. No, so of course the higher the volume, and then the higher and the clearer the audio would be. And then we also have here our system audio. So now we are now ready to record our video. Now we can click the record, or this red button, now to start our recording. A countdown will flash into our screen as you see a while ago. And then now, if you're now ready with your presentation or with your slides, you can now then start recording your screen by clicking Ctrl plus F5 for the slideshow, or you can click this icon below now to start your slideshow presentation. And now we are done with our recording. So you can now click the F10 to end the recording, or you can also click the escape button. So remember that this is just the first step on how we can record our video lecture. And so once you are done with your recording, we can then proceed with the second step, which is the editing. So the editing will take place in the Camtasia software. But before we proceed with the video editing, now let me show you first on how to record your lesson in another way. So the second way to record your lesson is by recording the PowerPoint slides. Now, so to do this, so let's go back here in our PowerPoint with our PowerPoint slides. Then look for the add-ins. Now, the add-ins button in your PowerPoint toolbar. So once you have your Camtasia software, or once you downloaded or you installed your Camtasia in your computers or your laptops, you can enable then your Camtasia add-ins. So automatically, you can enable this here in the option button in your PowerPoint. So as we see here, we have the same feature with our Camtasia window. We also have here the toolbars for recording, and then for audio, for the camera. We also have here the camera preview if you're working with your laptops, and then the recording options. But what we will record on this part is just slides. So no need for us to set up the mic and the camera. So what I usually do with my lecture videos, I pre-recorded my audio in advance and then recorded the slides afterwards. Then in the editing, in the Camtasia software, I edit the slides and audio to sync it. This way is best if you prepare content for your video, because what I usually do is I prepare my content first, now including what I will show in my slides and what will I say with each slides. Because in this manner, you can control or prepare what you are going to say. So you can either choose any of these two ways, depending on what type of video that you want to record. And if you wish to record your lesson in Pronto, then you can use the direct recording in Camtasia. But then if you want to record a prepared slides with a separate audio, then you can use the screen to record that. Okay, now let's go back with our PowerPoint slides. To make my slides very appealing to my learners and not just a PowerPoint presentation, I usually add animations to my slides. Now, these are examples of animations. Now, so if I will click the animation and then it's animation pane, so these are the animations I added to achieve this one. So once I click play all, now so this is the animation that you will see once we record it. So I usually add animation to my slides. I made the use of these animation features that we can find here in our PowerPoint toolbars. You can also explore probably the different animations so that you can use this in your lesson videos. In this way, when we add an animation to our PowerPoint, you can improve its visual effects rather than make your text steady throughout your presentation or throughout your slides. And another tip also, to make your lesson more animated, I refrain from using text in my slides. So instead of adding text, I use graphics like this. I use graphics like this. Some are in PNG, in vector, or in GIF to liven up my lecture videos. Then I also added some transitions. I also added some transitions to add visual effects that may occur when I move from one slide to the next slide during the presentation. Later, you will see those transitions that I added here in my PowerPoint. But aside from the transitions that are present here in your PowerPoint, you can also use the transitions that are available in our Camtasia software. Later, we will see that. So here in the transition, you can control the speed. You can also add a sound. You can even customize the transitions that you want, or the transition effects that you want to add in your video. That you want to add in your slides. Here in the timing section. So here in this part, you can edit all those things. I guess that's it. Now you can explore more in your PowerPoint presentation. Now if you want to add excitement to your presentation, make use of your PowerPoint animation and transition features. Okay, now we already have our recorded video. So now let's proceed with the second step, which is the editing. So after we record our video in our PowerPoint, it will automatically transfer to our Camtasia. So before we edit our video, let me share you first the overview and parts of the Camtasia. So here is the playback screen. So here you will see the recorded screen or video that you want to edit. You can also adjust the screen size by clicking this part. So the 60% is already the fit or the full view of the screen. But then if you're not satisfied with this, then you can also choose the other default settings. And we also have the timeline. So in the timeline, you will find there In our case, we have here our screen recorded PowerPoint. No, and also you can insert your graphics, no, your audio in this part, in the timeline part. Here on the left side of the screen, you will find there, or you can find there, the effects. Now we have here the audio effects, the visual effects, the voice narration, cursor effects, the animation, transition, behaviors, and then if you want to add additional text or you want to add shapes to the video, then you can use the left side of the screen for the effects. So you can choose these built-in effects and other options on how you can improve your video. And on the right side, it will show you the properties of the chosen effect. So like for example, if we will use a effect for this pre-recorded video, so like for example, we will use this one, the glow effect, then you will see on the right side of the screen the properties of the chosen effects. So now let's start first with the trimming. Now what are we going to trim? Of course, those unwanted clips that are part of the video, like okay, so the long pause or other unnecessary parts in the video. Then if possible, now let's limit the time of our video, because some of our learners have a short attention span, so we need to limit it to a maximum of 10 minutes. Okay, so here in our timeline, we can see that in the track 1, we already have our screen recorded slides. So this is the recorded video that we record in PowerPoint using Camtasia add-ins. So this is the other way, or the second way of recording your screen. But then remember, what we record was just the screen. So we need the audio for this. And since I already recorded the audio for my video lecture, so we will just grab it now by going to the media, and then by clicking the import media icon or this plus sign that you will find in the media section, and then locate then the file of your audio in your folders or the medias that you want to add, or anything, or if you want to add, like for example, a graphics, a JPEG, or any pictures or any other recorded videos. Now you can use the import media to add the files here in your Camtasia. So just click the import media and then try to locate the file. So now I already have my recorded audio for my video. Since we already have our audio and screen recording, then we can now proceed with the editing. So what you need to remember, now this is the second way of editing. So therefore, now we need to create a timing with the slides and with our audios. So you can edit the audio first and then we go back to the slides later, or you start with your slides or with your PowerPoint and you edit the audio, or you can edit them all together. So to add the video for video lecture, just drag the file, just drag this audio, just drag the file into your timeline. Then as you see, there are sound waves in the audio, and then there are some portions that are blank. So these portions are the pause or silent portion. So we can trim that or we can delete that part later as we trim your audio. Before we proceed with the trimming, we first need to click the audio and let us check then its properties. Some audios are barely audible, so you can adjust their sounds here in the properties section. So if you want to increase the volume, you can make it into 200% or more, depending on the volume that you like. Just make sure that the volume could not rupture your eardrums. Let's change this into 200. Because I want my audio to be clear and audible to my learners. And then if the audio has a background noise, you can also edit that here in Camtasia. Now just click the audio effects and then the noise removal effect. So if you want to use this, just drag the effect into your timeline. And then once you added the effect in the timeline or in the track, you can now then see its properties. So in the properties section, you can adjust the noise removal properties. For example, if you are not satisfied with the default properties, then you can change them. But I usually opt for the default so that I can finish the editing immediately. It's up to you if you want to adjust the sensitivity and the amount of the noise. Now just keep on listening with the audio so that you can adjust its properties. Now, after editing the volume, after editing the noise removal, or if you want to add another effects for that, you can then listen to your audio if you are already done. So since as what I have mentioned a while ago, the pause part or the blank part of the sound waves means that this is the long pause, or this is the portion where there is no sound. So we need to trim that, or we need to edit that. So to edit, just control this needle and then you go to the portion that you want to delete. So remember, you need to click the track wherein you want to trim, or else you might cut or you might trim the other tracks. Okay, so take note of that. To know if you are clicking the right track, now you will see there the highlighted, now this yellow bar or this yellow line into the track. Okay, so now we need to split or we need to cut those portions that we need to delete in our audio. So all we need to do is to drag the needle to the parts where we want to delete. Want to delete this part. So now then we click this icon, the split selected media at playhead location icon. So once we click that, now it will then separate this part to this part. You can then delete this one. So again, it's up to you, know where you want to start. If you want to start with the audio first, or then you want to edit first the media or the slides, or you want to edit them together, well then it's up to you. Okay, so what we need to edit then is the timing, right? Here in my screen or here in my media, you will see the PowerPoint cursor, the PowerPoint options, and I want to not include that part. So what I need to do is to, of course, move the needle and then find the section wherein, okay, to find the section wherein I already omitted that part, and then go back then with the split. And then once you split those two, you can now delete this part. Okay, and then drag it here. Okay, so let's try to listen to the audio. Imagine that you bought an MP3 player. I guess the audio and the screen are already synced. So we now proceed with the second slides. So all you need to do again is remember, since we have a difficulty in this part, okay, we have a separate audio and we have a separate video for the second way of recording. So you really need to have a patience for editing and for trimming and for syncing the audio and your slides. Again, we sync it again, or we create a timing with the slides and the audio. So remember, in the audio, such as competition. Okay, so competition. So I need to locate the slides for the competition. So I need to trim it here. Now again, don't forget not to click which track you want to edit. Again, if you will miss that part, then you might probably select the other tracks and you might probably edit or trim the other tracks instead of the tracks that you really want to edit. Okay, so competition in the market. So I want to start in this part. Okay. And then delete. And then, okay. So let's see the timing. Such as competition in the market. Okay, then that's correct. So, and then next, split. And then look for the next one. Assuming that we are done editing with the audio and syncing audio with our slides. So since we are now done with the trimming, we can now add the animation or even the effects to engage our viewers. So let's start by the animations. You can find the animation tab here in our effects properties. So animation can be added to our timeline by clicking and dragging it, and then it will glow or highlight to show where they can be applied. So to start with this animation, so you need to control first this needle, and then you try to locate in which part you want to add the animation. So the animation here, it will show you the zoom in span and animation. So this will be the zoom in and zoom out effect of your video. Okay, so I want to apply this animation effect here in this part. So like for example, this part of the slide. So what I want to do here is to create a zoom in effect to the description so that the focus of the viewers will be on the description, not on the whole slide. So what you need to do here is to adjust the handles and then focus the handles to the description. And then as you see here in your project, now this will be the screen that will also be seen by the viewer, or that will be reflected into your viewer. In Camtasia, now you can animate any visual property, now including the size, the opacity, like for this one, you can adjust that, the rotation, and more, now using the animation effect. Now, if you don't like this zoom in pan effect, you can also try this animation, the default or the built-in animations. Now, you can explore this part once you start or once you install the Camtasia so that you will know what's the difference between this zoom in pan with the other animation styles. Okay, so that's for the zoom in effect. Okay, so if you try to play it, it's responsible for realizing the. So as you see, now from the whole view or from the full view, and then it will then zoom in to the description. So another good thing about here in the Camtasia, you can also add text and graphics. So how? So first, we go to the annotation, and then here in the annotations or the annotations are used for titles and callouts. So these are the titles and callouts. But aside from this, you can also add shapes, no, and arrows, even arrows, in your video using the annotation bar. Okay, so to add text to the project, so let's select the annotation and then dragging it to the timeline. So it's up to you on what callouts or what annotations you would like to add in your slides. So this part is just a full blank. You can only see here the avatar. Okay, so what I want to add here is a text beside the avatar. So to do this, I need to add a title or a call out using the annotation. So as you apply the annotation, it will appear over the top of the video. No, so here, the top of the video. Now, since it is placed on the highest track. Next is to double click. Okay, so once you double click the annotation, you can then edit the text. You can also adjust the size using this handle, and you can even click and drag to reposition the annotation. And to customize the look and fill the annotation, Now you can select Control A, or you can just double click it and then change its font here on the properties panel. So you can change here the font, even the background color, no, and more in the properties panel. Okay, so far so good, as you see. So now let's take it and add other effects to bring our text to life by adding a behavior. So again, let's go back here in our effects panel. So you can find here the behavior. So the behavior are used to engage our viewers with the eye-catching animations. So behavior can be applied to all visual objects on the timeline, not just the annotation. So you can also add behavior effect to your media or even to the slides or to the video. So all you need to do here is to drag the behavior to the annotation. So let's drag the behavior to the annotation, and that's it. Now, so same goes with the other effects. Now, we can also customize how the behavior enter to the scene here on the properties panel. You can customize how the behavior enter, and then what it does when it's on the scene, and how it leaves by adjusting the properties in the properties panel. If you want to delete the behavior, you can either click this X icon or just click here the behavior and then select delete. So let's try to see how this behavior take effect to our annotation. Rights have been formally given to us by the government under the Consumer Protection. Okay, so that's how this behavior looks in our annotation. And now, if you want to add something, no, like for example, a media or a graphics to your video, you can also do that. So to do this, now you go back here into your effects panel, and then you click the media. What you need to do here is to import the graphics or to import the images that you want to include here in your presentation. Just click this plus sign and then locate the folder or the file that you want to add in our project. The same goes with the other effects. What you need to do here is just drag the images or drag the audio or drag any of the medias that you want to include in the project, and then use the handle then to adjust or to reposition the images that you want to include. Add a behavior for this. So let's try to use this pop-up behavior. Okay, so this is how it will look like. Protection Act to safeguard consumers' interests. So if you're then satisfied with that, then you can go with it. And if not, then you can choose or select other behaviors that you want for your medias. Okay, so if you're done adding the media, the behavior, the annotations in your project, you can then proceed with the transition. As I observe in my project, the sequence of the slides are a bit harsh. To smooth it out, we'll add a transition to my slides, and it can be done by dragging the transition or dragging the effects to the timeline. So like for example, here on this part, okay, this is the transition between this slide to this slide. So it's plain, right? So what I want here is to add a transition. Okay, so just drag the transition into your timeline. So transition are used to improve the flow of your video. And where the two pieces of media touch each other, the transition is automatically applied to the end of the first and the beginning of the second slide. You can also change its duration by clicking and dragging the ends like this. Now, if you are not satisfied with the transition, then you can click it and then press delete. So let's try to see how the transition works in both slides. As consumers. Okay, so it is much better as compared a while ago, which is too plain, right? So that's how you add the effects on your animations. If you want to edit more the template, just move the needle to where you want to add the annotations, the behavior, the transition, or etc. into your project. So let's assume now that we are finished with editing our slides. Okay, now after we are done adding the effects using the behavior, using the transition, animation, and adding annotation, then what should be the next step? So the next is reviewing your video. So you can repeat reviewing your video as many times if possible. Then if you are satisfied and done with what you have added, then finally, you can proceed then with the exporting of the video. So to export our video, all we need to do is to click the export button, which is located on the top and right side of our window. So what I want here is to save my video to my computer. So I will then choose or select the local file. So I will save the video to the local file so that it will directly save to my computer. Then click the options, and then you will see there how the file will be saved. What I usually use when saving is this, the MP4 up to 1080p. So I will click that and then select next. So here, you can click the title in the production name, consumer rights, then click the folder location, where you want to save your file, and then click save. And if done, you can then click finish to render the video. So as you see, it is already rendering. Okay, now we are done with the exporting, and then we can then now view our final video in the folder. So let's watch together our video. Imagine that you bought an MP3 player, and the first time you play it, you do not hear a sound. Consumers faced various problems in the market, such as competition in the market, misleading advertisements, availability of inferior quality of goods and services, and many more. Well, the good news is you have the rights as a consumer, and these rights protect us when a product is defective. Do you know that as a consumer you enjoy certain rights? These rights have been formally given to us by the government under the Consumer Protection Act to safeguard consumers' interests. The Department of Trade and Industry is responsible for realizing the country's goal of a globally competitive and innovative industry and services sector that contributes to inclusive growth and employment generation. They urges Filipino consumers to always assert their rights and practice their responsibilities, especially amidst the pandemic where transactions are mostly done online. As consumers, we have 8 basic rights. These are rights to basic needs, safety, information, choice, be heard with rest, consumer education, and a healthy environment. And in this video, let us discuss these rights in detail. Right to basic needs. The first consumer right is the right to basic needs, which guarantee survival, adequate food, clothing, shelter, healthcare, education, and sanitation. With this right, consumers can look forward to the availability of essential and prime commodities at affordable prices and good quality. The right to safety. The second consumer right is the right to safety, which is the right to be protected against the marketing of goods or the provision of services that are hazardous to health and life. For example, a consumer should check an LPG tank for leakage at the time of purchase. Suppose the LPG tank starts leaking afterwards, leading to fire and injury or death to anyone. In that case, the supplier is liable to pay compensation. The right to information. The third consumer right is the right to information, which is the right to be protected against fraudulent, dishonest, or misleading advertising, labeling, promotion, and the right to be given the facts and information needed to make an informed choice. Suppliers and dealers must inform consumers about the safety precautions to be taken while using the products to avoid loss or injury. So let's go back to our example. The LPG supplier should inform the consumer to stop the flow of gas with the help of a regulator when it is not used. The right to choose. The fourth consumer right is the right to choose, which is the right to choose products at competitive prices with an assurance of satisfactory quality. This implies that dealers and traders should offer a wide variety of products to consumers and not pressure them to buy their poor goods. The right to be heard. The fifth consumer right is the right to be heard, which is the right to express consumer interest in the making and executing of the government policies. Thus, they have the right to be heard by the manufacturers, dealers, advertisers, government, and public bodies in case of dissatisfaction with a good or service. The right to redress. The sixth consumer right is the right to seek redressal, which is the right to be compensated for misrepresentation, shoddy goods, or unsatisfactory services. So, if the consumer has a complaint due to unfair trade practices done by sellers, he has a right to get relief. Thus, the consumer has a right to get defective goods replaced or money refunded by the sellers. This also provides due compensation to consumers for any loss or injury suffered due to fault caused by supplier or manufacturers. The right to consumer education. The seventh consumer right is the right to consumer education, which is the right to acquire the knowledge and skills necessary to be an informed consumer. The government encourages consumers to exercise their consumer rights. The body responsible for educating consumers are expected to educate and inform us about our rights and the reliefs available to us. The right to a healthy environment. The 8 consumer rights are the right to a healthy environment, which is the right to live and work in an environment that is neither threatening nor dangerous and permits a life of dignity and well-being. Everyone has the right to an adequate environment. A good environment is considered a precondition for realizing other human rights, including rights to life, food, health, and an acceptable standard of living. Everyone should be able to live in an environment conducive to their health and well-being. Remember that we have rights to basic needs, rights to safety, right to be informed, right to choose, right to be heard, right to seek redressal, right to consumer education, and a right to healthy environment. Consumer protection makes markets work for both businesses and consumers. Remember that consumers need to be able to obtain accurate and biased information about the products and services they purchase. This enables them to make the best choices based on their interest and prevents them from being mistreated or misled by the businesses. So these consumer protection policies, laws, and regulations can help increase consumer welfare by ensuring that businesses can be held accountable. So now, let us all practice our consumer rights. So that's it. Hope you have learned something today. So see you in our next lecture. Goodbye!
Designing video lectures at this time of the pandemic are relevant for us teachers and for our learners because we cannot assume that our learners are all connected to the internet. So, we need to be equipped on how we can recreate our classroom by designing a video lectures, especially for those students who have internet connection problem. And that's it! I hope you find this video useful to you in creating your video lessons in the future. So that's all for today. Goodbye!